Hi there. This is another teaching which we've titled Double Entry for Beginners. And this is one out of the few series of double entry teachings that we are delivering just to give you an insight as to what account will I debit and what account will I credit. And for this very one, we want to go through the trial balance or to look at the trial balance and look at completing a trial balance. We know that for every debit entry, there must be a corresponding credit entry. So in accounts, we do a lot of debits and credits. And they say, what do you do in that account? Debit and credit. I'm like, okay, whatever. But that is the foundation and the double entry principle upon which a lot of financial accounts is built on. And to learn the double entry, we use the dead click acronym. And as you will see, we've also said that there are different other acronyms that are used, including debit the receiver and credit the giver in some applicable cases. We stick to dead click, which means debit expenses, assets and drawings, click credit liabilities, income and capital. And this will apply when those accounts are increasing or decreasing, and by default as well. Assets are debit balances, liabilities are credit balances, expenses are debit balances, income are credit balances, drawings are debit balances, capital is always a credit balance by default. So with that in mind, we are going to go through this trial balance as much as we can. VAT owed to HMRC, you are owing the government. That will be a liability. A liability is under the click, so I credit this account. Petty cash is an asset. A current asset, I debit petty cash. Bank interest received, that is income, so I will credit. Utilities is expense, so we will debit the utilities account. Bank loans, that is a liability, so we will credit. Sales ledger control, another name, debtors, it's an asset, so we will debit. Purchases is expense, so we will debit. Capital is capital, so we will credit. Equipment is an asset, so we will debit. Premises expenses is expense, so we will debit. It's under dead. Purchase ledger control is a liability, so we will credit. It's under click. Wages is expense, so we will debit. It's under dead. Bank is an asset, so we will debit. It's under dead. Purchase returns is income, so we will credit. Sales is income, so we will credit. It's under click. And once we've done that, we will be expected to add the entire debits together and add the entire credits together. And the figure at the bottom should be exactly the same on the debit side and the same on the credit side as well. That is to say, if we know that every debit entry has a corresponding credit entry, that means that by the time we close all the ledger accounts at every point in time, when you set your trial balance up, that trial balance must balance, because for every posting you've done one debit and a credit, or sets of credit, and the total debit must be the same as total credit. When we pick up the trial balance, that applies as well. That will mean that we have complied with double entry correctly all the way through to the end. I hope this teaching has been useful. Please feel free to go through this exercise all over again. You can block out the accounts, you can block out the debits and credits, the amounts, and read the exercise, re-ask yourself, what is VAT owed to HMRC, what is petty cash to you, what is bank, and then what will I do with that? Will I debit or will I credit? Because if you know that it's an asset, automatically you should know that you're going to debit that account and amount. If you know it's a liability, automatically you will know. You will credit that amount and that account. I hope this has been useful. The rest of it is study ongoing, practice ongoing, keep learning, keep doing exercises, and the more exercises you do, the better you will get at it. And at some point, it will just come to you naturally without having to stress your brain as to what, why, how. It just comes, it just flows and flows and flows. Like, oh, is this thing that they've been talking about? How easy is this? Easier said than done. Easy when you know it. If this has been useful, please feel free, like us, follow us, subscribe to this video, and as well connect with us on all the other social media platforms, and we try to put in useful content for students and for our followers. All right then, adios.